Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajapachari Shtokasaka Shri Shantananda Goswami's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shri Jagannath Dev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Nasta padreshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 5, the activities of King Bharat. No, check chapter 7 actually. Yes. Text number 4. And it's prose, so I will just read it and then we can do word by word. Sabahuvin mahipati pitri pita mahavat uruvatsalyataya sve sve karmani vartamanaha prajaswadharmam anuvartamana prayapalayat. Word by word. Saha, that king, Maharaj Bharata, Bahuvit, being very advanced in knowledge, Mahipati, the ruler of the earth, Pitri, father. Pitamaha, grandfather. Vat, exactly like. Uru vatsalataya, with the quality of being very affectionate to the citizens. Sve sve, in their own respective karmani, duties. Vartamanaha, remaining. Praja, the citizens. Swadharmam anuvartamana, being perfectly situated in his own occupational duty. Paryapalayat, ruled. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Bharata was a very learned and experienced king on this earth. He perfectly ruled the citizens, being himself engaged in his own respective duties. Maharaj Bharata was as affectionate to the citizens as his father and grandfather had been. Keeping them engaged in their occupational duties, he ruled the earth. Purport. It is most important that the chief executive rule the citizens by keeping them fully engaged in their respective occupational duties. Some of the citizens were Brahmanas, some were Kshatriyas, and some were Vaishyas and Shudras. It is the duty of the government to see that the citizens act according to these material divisions for their spiritual advancement. No one should remain unemployed or unoccupied in any way. One must work as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra on the material path, and on a spiritual path, everyone should act as a Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyasi. Although formerly the government was a monarchy, all the kings were very affectionate toward the citizens, and they strictly kept them engaged in their respective duties. Therefore, society was very smoothly conducted. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Pada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Shivarama Swami Nityanamini. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Once more the verse. Maharaj Bharat was a very learned and experienced king on this earth. He perfectly ruled the citizens, being himself engaged in his own respective duties. Maharaj Bharata was as affectionate to the citizens as his father and grandfather had been. Keeping them engaged in their occupational duties, he ruled the earth. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for coming to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And thank you to Dhamma Prabhu for giving me this service of speaking on the Bhagavatam. And we started a new chapter yesterday. And we're going to hear more about the activities of King Bharat. Actually, it's interesting, there are 3 famous Bharatas that I found yesterday when I was doing a little research. There's the son of Rishabdev, obviously. You know any other Bharatas come to mind? Actually, there's Ramachandra's son, he's also Bharat. Brother, sorry, one of his brothers. And also there is in the Mahabharata, there's a description of a Bharat who is the son of Maharaj Dushyanta and Shakuntala, and he's very famous also because he was the forefather of the Kurus, basically. And as a child, he was somehow living in the forest, and he was wrestling with all the animals there, and he was like, Prabhupada calls him in one purport, he calls him the original Tarzan. That's where Tarzan is coming from. So it's interesting, but he was a very powerful personality, and he was a king also, became a king. It's even said also, Prabhupada mentions, that he's a partial incarnation of the Lord. So yeah, very powerful personality. But of course, when we speak of Maharaj Bharat in the context of Srimad Bhagavatam, then it's the son of Lord Rishabdev, and it's also confirmed in other places that this planet Earth, or Bharatvarsha, has been named so after this Maharaj Bharat. So, in this verse, we hear that Maharaj Bharat was a very exemplary king, very good leader. And Prabhupada in the purport, he speaks a little bit about Varnashrama Dharma. And for my own purification, I thought I will speak a little bit about that, since it's an important topic, and it's always good to hear about it. And just recently, like a week ago or so, my spiritual master, he gave a class in Mayapur on Varnashrama Dharma also. So I will repeat a little bit what I heard there and bring in some other thoughts. So first of all, the question arises, why should there be Varnashrama Dharma? Well, I think everybody agrees that any society needs to have some regulations, some structures to function properly, to achieve the best possible outcome for everybody. Otherwise, what you have is really just anarchy, where everybody does what they want to do, and that doesn't seem to work so well, obviously. And often we hear also this word hierarchy, that there are natural hierarchies. And this word actually means, you know what it means? Hierarche. It's a Greek word. It's interesting because it means divine order. So also the Greeks, they had this understanding that hierarchy, or and structure of authority, is actually something natural. It's God-given in that sense. And so it's important to follow, because otherwise things get messy. And we can see that not only in human society, but also in animal society there is always hierarchies. There are always leaders of the pack, or there's always those that are last in the food chain that have to wait until everybody else has eaten, things like that. So there's clear hierarchy under animals, amongst animals. And nowadays, of course, our main structure to guide society is the democracy. And on various occasions we know that Prabhupada wasn't very fond of that. He spoke about it as demon crazy, as a crazy system, because it's all about sense gratification, and unqualified people are putting into power other unqualified people, and so it doesn't make real sense. And also, if we go back in history, after the Vedic times, the Greeks have very much discussed these things, what is the best way to guide and govern society. There's different works in that regard. There's Republica from Plato, I believe, and Aristotle also wrote on it. But the first basically was Plato, and he also actually described democracy as a degradation from the best form, which he was proposing to be an oligarchy. And that it actually means that unqualified people are taking over. He basically says that even political work is also a skill, like other work also requires skills. Like if you're a farmer, you need to know how to do things. If you're a cobbler, you need to know how to do things. And similarly also, if you're a politician, it's a skill to learn how to do politics. And so if somebody who doesn't have that skill, let's say a farmer or a cobbler that never got training in politics, then can vote and decide for a society, then it's not going to be good for everybody, because he doesn't have the necessary knowledge and broad vision to really do the best for everybody. So that's why at the basis of a society there needs to be some common grounds. And Anirudeshvapu Prabhu, in one of his seminars, he spoke about Varnashrama Dharma also, and he spoke about community. That actually community means that there has to be an agreement on the common sense gratification. Like when we come together as a community, something is in the center, something wants to be, needs to be addressed. Otherwise, you wouldn't come together as a community. And if there's too many different outlooks on what we should do in a community, then it will not work out. And so in the beginning, one has to set up what is actually the sense gratification that we seek. What is the goal of this coming together? And in this regard, it's also important to keep in mind that one of the basic tenets that modern constitutions have, especially it is clearly stated in the US, is that we are all created equal in the face of God. That's one of the founding principles in the Constitution of America, but obviously that's not true. So it's crazy that the whole idea of this huge state that is the USA. Yeah. Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying, that if you just say like this, everybody's created equal, obviously it's not true. If it was to be true, then it has to be from a spiritual vision, but of course that's not really, God is kept out of the picture in the Constitution also. But we see, not everybody's created equal. Like, Ekachakra Prabhu can do things I cannot do. And somebody of us is a faster runner than the other. Somebody can draw nicely, like Yamuna Mataji, she can draw nicely. I cannot draw at all. So definitely, if I want to become a Picasso in this life, I will just not be able to do. So I'm not equal to Picasso in that regard. And so in all these ways.
Isn't it like equality and sameness is actually not the same thing?
Equality and sameness. Yeah, we could argue on that point. What is equality exactly? But I think
equality is
Yeah, but how they take it is that it's according to rights and obligations. Because we're all equal, we have the same rights and obligations. But but that's not what the Vedic system would say. Actually, on the opposite, actually, because this that we're created equal is a metaphysical term, as we're pointing out. So on the material platform, obviously, we have so many differences. We're not the same, and we can never achieve certain things in this life that others can, and the other way around. But of course, on a spiritual platform, yes, we're created equal. We're all spiritual souls, and we all have our unique relationship with Krishna, and on that basis, there is an equality. Again, it's not same, we're equal, we're one, but we're also different. But ontologically, we're equal. But with that realization that on the material plane we're not all equal, we're not created equal, it follows that there are different obligations and rights for different people. For example, in a Vedic understanding, there's different categories or different treatment when it comes, for example, to punishment. If somebody does a crime, it's not the same if, for example, a man does it or a woman. It's not the same if it's an old person or a young person. All these things, they are very much taken into account. Whereas on the basis of this slogan that we're all created equal, they want to make it all same for everybody. In Vedic tradition, for example, also, sannyasis cannot be punished. They're above the law, which is interesting, right? These kind of things to take into account. But because of all these reasons, it is quite clear and apparent that democracy is not the ideal form to govern a country or a state. And Plato, what he proposed is actually to have a philosopher king who is the leader of society. So it's very, very similar to what we also have in the Vedas. And of course, and that's what I also found interesting in this little research that I did, that all these concepts, they're there in the Vedas, but nobody really takes care of them. Like, nobody is interested in the academic world or in like the scientific world. But if Plato says it, or some Greek, then people are like, yes, that makes sense, So because a philosopher king basically is equivalent to a Raja Rishi. A Raja Rishi is a king who is also a wise person, who is very well versed in the Dharma Shastras, who can differentiate in every circumstance, time, place, circumstance, what is the right thing to do. And Plato also basically spoke of a Varnashrama Dharma in a sense, or at least in the Varna Dharma, that there must be different Varnas. So there's the philosopher king, then under him is a military and executive positions, and then there come the producers. So it's like 3 Varnas that are there in this ideal state of Plato. Of course, the whole spiritual dimension is just left out there in this reasoning of Plato. And for us as practicing devotees, it is clear that we have to follow Varnashrama Dharma. Why? Because it's coming from Krishna. It's the natural hierarchy, it's the natural system. Krishna says also in the Bhagavad Gita, in 4.13, I believe, that this Varnashrama Dharma is created by him. This categorization into the different varnas and ashrams according to the modes that people are in. And it is the best system because it is made to elevate people from wherever they are to come closer to Krishna. So it's not only materially speaking a good system that helps us to lead a happy life and a productive life and a life that is beneficial to others also, but the main point is that it is Daivi Varnashram. It is there to elevate us to Krishna consciousness. We understand that everything we're doing in our material life, so-called, is to be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. And that's how this system transforms our hearts and purifies them of all the bad things. And so even in the Varnashrama Dharma, the most important link or part Prabhupada would always mention, the head of society are the Brahmanas. And they have to be very, very qualified, they have to be very wise, they have to be, the qualities are mentioned also in Bhagavad Gita, they have to be very tolerant, they have to be very generous in sharing whatever they have. And they have to be detached, they have to be clean, so many things. And similarly then, the king has to be a very, very exemplary personality, and definitely Maharaj Bharat was one of these personalities. And it is described here what are these qualities that made him so exemplary. First of all, there was he was ruling, being himself engaged in his own respective duty, and of course this word comes to mind, verse comes to mind from Bhagavad Gita, yat yat acharati shreshtas tat evetaro jana, that whatever a big personality does, the common personality follows. So if the leader, the person in power, in some position, is behaving very exemplary, then it will inspire and empower others to follow in his footsteps and try their best to do their duties as well as the king does. And I think we can see that also in nowadays countries, even though it's not a king, but if you have a good president, people are really inspired to do what they're doing, and they think, they're doing something meaningful and they contribute to something higher. The nation is going somewhere, and that's very inspiring for them. And so Srila Prabhupada always put a lot of emphasis on providing brahmanas to the society, that this Krishna consciousness movement is also there to create brahmanas that can be the heads of societies. But not only that, he also wanted that all the devotees are versed in the different varnas. So not everybody will be a brahmana, but that is not a problem because all the varnas need to be established. In general, Srila Prabhupada made put a lot of emphasis that Varnashrama Dharma is very important and that it's 50% of his mission. And still today we can see we've not so much advanced on that, and that's why I think it should be a topic more also to see how can we really implement this other 50% of Srila Prabhupada's mission. In the last year, just before he left his body, Srila Prabhupada especially focused on Varnashrama Dharma also, and he had this idea of traveling to the west, to Gita Nagari in the US, in I think West Virginia, is it? Or where is it exactly? Somewhere. And he wanted to go there and show the devotees how to live off the land, he said. And so he traveled westwards, and he stopped over at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and he was in very weak position, very bad health. The devotees were shocked to see him in that state. And one devotee that was there was Jananda Maharaj. And Jananda Maharaj was at that time the Sankirtan leader at the manor. And he went to pick up Srila Prabhupada from the airport. At that time, of course, we also know that Srila Prabhupada was very much enlivened by the book scores results. Whenever the devotees would send their book scores and they were read to Srila Prabhupada, then he would say, that gives me life. That's the only thing that keeps me alive in that situation that he was in. So Jananda Maharaj, he was the driver. He went to pick up Srila Prabhupada at the airport, and he was, very well equipped with all the knowledge, how many books had gone out, which devotees did what, where, and like that. He was very well prepared. The devotees were very enthusiastic to do book distribution because they knew that Srila Prabhupada said so, that it would keep him alive. And then when they drove back, Ramakrishna Maharaj was also there. And and he told to Janananda Maharaj that Srila Prabhupada would like to ask some questions. And so Janananda Maharaj was ready, he was well prepared. But then Srila Prabhupada asked, so how are the cows? How many of them are there? How much milk are they giving? How is the grass growing? And how are all the barns kept nicely? And Janananda Maharaj was totally embarrassed. He was very surprised. He was taken aback because he was thinking, it's going to be all about books. But instead, Srila Prabhupada, you could just see he was so much absorbed in establishing this Varnashrama Dharma, and also to have these farm communities as the basis of the system of Varnashrama Dharma that could be implemented thereupon. And so it was very clear to Janananda Maharaj, he was stressing this point, how much Srila Prabhupada was absorbed in establishing Varnashrama Dharma at the end of his life, where you could say, Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee, and so he's just speaking about Krishna, and especially at the end of his life. But no, that was also there, that he was very, very much concerned that how will ISKCON go on without Varnashrama Dharma, how will Krishna consciousness spread without it? It will be very, very difficult. And that's also why Srila Prabhupada, he called ISKCON a society, right? It's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's not just a religion or an institution like that, but it's actually a society, and that means also that it implies that a society can really put up a social structure, a social system that goes beyond just a temple or a center, but it brings together, again, it's about the whole community. And not only that, of course, Srila Prabhupada wanted to have Varnashrama Dharma all over the planet, like in the times of Bharat Maharaj and before, that this was just a setup how Vedic society worked. And also this question came up beforehand, that should Varnashrama Dharma be for the world in general, or should devotees also follow? And what did Srila Prabhupada say? Devotees should also follow, yeah. So it's interesting. Sometimes, as devotees we think, because also, we hear, for example, in the Ramananda Samvad, the discussion of Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks him about, okay, tell me, what is the highest goal in life? And they go through so many things. And Mahaprabhu rejects Varnashrama Dharma as something external, as he does reject other things also. And in other places also, Mahaprabhu says, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a Vaishya, not a Brahmin, and so on. I'm just Das Anudas, and the servant of the gopis. So it seems that, this Varnashrama Dharma is something for outsiders, for some people out there, but not so much for the devotees. But no, Srila Prabhupada made the point that it's for the devotees to follow, because these rules and regulations of the Varnas and the Ashrams, they purify our existence. And only when our hearts are pure enough, then can we actually truly act on Dharma with intuition. Before that is just speculation, right? There's this story also of the Pandavas, which kind of exemplifies that. When Kunti, there was the Swayamvara, and Kunti told the Pandavas that they have to share everything they get. So they went there, and then, of course, they got Draupadi. So it was a question what to do now, because the mother said, and what mother says is Dharma, is law, that they have to share everything. So there's one woman for 5 brothers. And Yudhishthir was asked what to do. He was the oldest, and he was Dharmaraj. So he was thinking about it. So sharing one woman with 5 people, with 5 men, that's adharmic. But then also not to follow the mother's word is adharmic. So what to do? And basically what he did, he listened to his intuition, and he said, well, I don't think it's adharma to share a woman with 5 husbands. But King Drupada, on the other hand, he was very upset about that, and he got really, really offended, and felt that it's a big problem. Shishi Jagnapadadev Subhadra Devi ki jai. Shishi Gornitai ki jai. So, in this example, you can see that because Drupada's heart was still so contaminated, there was so much different anarthas there, that he could not tap in to what is really Dharma, what is to be done in such a situation, and what not. But because Yudhishthira Maharaj, being connected to Krishna, being a very, very exemplary leader, he knew what to do in that situation. So even devotees like the Pandavas, they followed the Varnashram Dharma, but then also they were transcendental to it. So this both goes hand in hand. A transcendental devotee, even though he's not dependent or totally independent from Varnashram Dharma or any outward considerations for that matter, he will follow Varnashram Dharma because he will set an example for others. Same is described in terms of devotional service. One might be a very advanced devotee, but externally he behaves like a neophyte devotee in order not to unsettle others. And internally he cultivates his very, very elevated relationship to Krishna. So yeah, it's also for devotees to follow, and it can be very, very powerful. For example, there was the story of Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Pandit. They were sent by Jiva Goswami to bring these palm leaves that Jiva Goswami had written to Bengal, from Vrindavan to Bengal. And on the way there, they got robbed, and their treasures, their chests with the scriptures inside, they got stolen. And so they went to the king, and the king at the time was Bir Hambir, that was his name, who was a very pious Hindu, and he had some katha going on, people speaking from the scriptures sometimes. And so he wanted to test these sadhus, how bona fide they were. And he said, okay, I will arrange for your scriptures to come back. And they found these chests later on, brought it to the king, and then the king said, but now you have to prove that this is really something special, because you were saying these scriptures are very special and so on. And then actually it was Srinivasacharya, I believe, that started to recite the Bhagavatam and speak about it, elaborate on it. And Bir Hambir was just totally taken aback, and he felt that was the most beautiful thing he ever heard. And he got really enamored by Krishna and his devotees. So he became a Vaishnava, actually. He became a Vaishnava king, in that sense, a Raja Rishi. And that was just like 500 years ago. So what he did then, he became very, very resolute in making his state a Vaishnava state. So he made sure that everybody in the state chants 64 rounds every day. He also made sure that everybody fast on Ekadashi, dry fast. And in this way, he made very strict rules for everybody to follow. And those who didn't want to follow, he just kicked them out of the kingdom. Can you imagine? Yeah, so well, that's how it's described, and I guess those who didn't want to follow, they left, and because also he was a very rich person, I guess he could supply himself from other sources if there was not enough Shudras or whatever. But that's how it's described. He became very, very zealous in making his state a Vaishnava state. So just imagine if you have a king like that, it will be a different environment for devotees and for others to practice in. It sounds very intense actually, but of course in the ultimate sense it's the best thing to happen, that you have somebody really pushing you towards Krishna. We can see that in our lives. Sometimes we're struggling alone, or we're struggling to do what we have to do. But if we have others who are kind of behind us a little bit, checking on us, then even though it's sometimes not easy, we progress more fastly on the spiritual trajectory towards Krishna. So yeah, overall, Varnashram Dharma is there to elevate us from wherever we are and bring us more into the mode of goodness, because it is also described we cannot jump from ignorance or passion into Shuddha Sattva, into transcendence. We have to gradually elevate ourselves, purify ourselves, and that's why this goodness, mode of goodness, is very conducive to eventually reach the pure platform of Shuddha Sattva. And that's why we as devotees, we have to make sure that we really try to follow our different rules and regulations, especially for our temple devotees. I'd say it's about the ashrams that we really take into consideration. What are our duties as brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, in order to facilitate the best possible atmosphere for ourselves, but also for others coming from outside to practice Krishna consciousness. And it's also, time and again been shown practically what happens if we don't follow is always problematic, and it leads to many problems in devotees' lives, and in the long term mostly to fall down and even to leaving Krishna consciousness. So, that's what I was thinking about a little bit, and I think that the temple has to be, of course it's a spiritual place, but as we said, still Varnashram Dharma is very much relevant for us. And one obvious thing is also that we have to be very careful in our dealings with the opposite gender. One thing I also noticed that I think we should do something about, or we should have like senior devotees being exemplary and also telling us off if we do wrong. One thing I noticed, for example, that many devotees, senior devotees also, they're hugging each other all the time, men, women, and like in the temple. And it's a little strange. I just feel like, why are we doing these things? What's the purpose of it? And do we need to do it? And especially, is it sanctified by Srila Prabhupada, for example, by the Vedas? And if not, then why would we do it? So, mode of goodness also means that our body is, it said, all the senses are enlightened by knowledge, which means that, whatever we do, we know why we're doing it, right? And that's something we should really keep in mind. My spiritual master always stresses this point. Sometimes he would ask me, why did you do this? And I would say, I don't know. And then he really got angry at me, like, what you don't know? Why you don't know what you're doing, How can it be that you don't know? That means you're in ignorance, you're in tamagun. So we should not do things just for the sake of doing it, but we should always think like, why would I do this now, or why would I not do it? And it should be based on Guru Sadhu Shastra, of course, and our duties according to time, place, circumstance, and our position in the bigger society. So these were a few thoughts. Thank you very much. If you have any comments or questions. Yes.
Thank you so much for your wonderful lecture about this very, very important topic. And I was just wondering, maybe you know better, what is actually the goal that you have to achieve in the brahmachari ashram? Like, you're now 3 years in the brahmachari ashram, and I think your spiritual master must have told you like what you have to learn. Or, you're just going through this phase, and so I was wondering, what are these points actually?
I guess it's many. First of all, the duty of a brahmachari is just brahmachari guru kule vasandanto. Oh, I forgot the verse even. See, that's how good I know my duties. You know this verse? I mean, these are the kind of things, no? Every brahmachari should know what are we doing? What's our, per Shastra, what is our duty and why are we doing what we're doing? This is verse in the 7th canto. Brahmachari Guru Kule Vasandanto. So, yes, that's the one. 7.12.1. Yeah. So there's 3 points mentioned here. He should practice completely controlling his senses. So that's one task that the brahmachari has to learn. Then second of all, he should be submissive and have friendship with the spiritual master. So a brahmachari, basically what he's learning is to become a servant, right? In all the ashrams, that's the essence, I guess. You have to become a servant of Krishna, and that also means of other living entities, of everyone, eventually. And so one cultivates this attitude of submissiveness or humility. And the firm friendship is interesting. What does it exactly mean, firm friendship with for the spiritual master? I think also it means kind of a firm trust and faith in the spiritual master, understanding the position, the hierarchy again. So the brahmachari gets trained to understand hierarchy, to understand how to deal with different people also. I think that's really something that you learn when you're with your spiritual master, because first of all, you're with your spiritual masters, you have your god brothers around, but then also so many guests are coming, from different backgrounds, very senior devotees, very advanced devotees, but also simple devotees sometimes. But you have to relate to them differently, and you have to always be in that servant mode, and only for the benefit of the guru. So one should be submissive and also understand that the goal of everything is to really give one's life to the guru. So what the brahmachari should learn is how to live for the guru, like with no own kind of agenda, but just make the guru's instructions one with his heart, chittete kariya aikya, aranak na kari homane asha, no other desire, and his life and soul, Prabhupada would say, right? To make it his life and soul. So these are a few points, I think, that we can learn from this verse. This is the main, I think, the main kind of definition from the Bhagavatam now about what the brahmachari should do and learn. And again, from this we can see what develops, I think, is knowledge, like, from completely controlling the senses, from this submissiveness and humility. This is the right seed, or the right ground, so that the seeds of knowledge can blossom. And if you don't have that, then you can also not develop knowledge, and then you cannot advance in any field that you would go into as a grihasta, for example. Whereas if you have these qualities, then you're connected to the spiritual master, and therefore you're connected to Krishna. So wherever you go, Divagyan Hrida Pokashito, the spiritual knowledge, Krishna can give you knowledge because you've been purified, and you can discern what is the mind, what is the heart, and from this you can really, wherever you put in your life, you will have this firm basis where you're connected to the spiritual, to Krishna through spiritual relationship with the Guru. What do you think?
Yeah,
More?
I just thought came to my mind. Of course, Prabhupada wanted us to become brahmanas in that sense, so maybe we should also try to really become brahmanas while being in the temple. Get peacefulness, self-control, stability, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, the really big justice, and it should really become our nature.
Yeah, definitely. These are kind of prerequisites.
But of course, of course you will also become like that if you're very submissive to your spiritual master. So
Yeah.
take care of that.
That's the point, right? This is really the beginning of everything. From this, everything else can follow. And then, these qualities, the Guru then teaches you. What does the Guru teach you? How to do it. Okay, you should practice completely controlling your senses. And how do you practice? By the Guru's telling you, like, okay, only eat that time, and go to do that in the morning. When you get up, tak. For example, Shiva Maharaj is very particular in these things. He tells you exactly what he wants. Like, if you want to know, then you will know what you should do and what. So, yeah, the Guru trains you in these things, but that he can train you first, he has to kind of break you, because we're not really able to surrender and able to accept others' instructions really in the heart. We can theoretically apply or think about that we accept them, but if it comes down to like real life decisions, often we're just so much conditioned from so many lifetimes and this life already enough that we cannot take it to heart, like really. And so the spiritual master first, he has to cut on that and make you submissive, and you have to want to be submissive. And in this way, I think then the other things also, they can develop more and more. Like my spiritual master, he told, once we were massaging him, and I think it was shortly before I was to come back, somehow I was speaking about Damodar Prasad, that he said he's looking forward for my coming back. And then what happened exactly? I messed something up. And he said, you should tell your temple president that actually we need you here 5 more years just to make you into a human being. Until now I have not given you any spiritual instructions, just trying to make you into a human being. So you can just see, for somebody who sees your condition, then he understands, how much can you really do with such a person. First you have to make him refined and make him aware that what he's thinking and what he's doing is so often just based on speculation, on ignorance, on material designations, whatever, but not on Shastra and what Guru says. So first has to be this humility. Like it is also said in the Bhagavad Gita, what is the symptoms of knowledge? Or what is knowledge? It starts with humility, right? Chapter 13, I think. 8 to 12, yeah. So the first one is amanitvam, and then adambitvam, pridelessness, yeah. But first, amanvitam, humility has to be there. Otherwise, nothing else can happen in your spiritual life. Okay? Thank you very much. Please, let's dive a little bit more into this in our own time. What are our duties? How can we improve also in our dealings with others? And follow really strictly these principles that will really please Srila Prabhupada, and we can inspire others and in this way institute Varnashrama Dharma more and more. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.